Hi, scholars and parents. This is Ms. Palmer. I am about to do a few examples from homework 6.6. This homework has a lot of different types of problems that are really good practice, so I'm not going to do too many on the page, but I have a few examples I'm going to share separately. So the first two questions are a little bit of a review. It asks you to write this decimal as a fraction, and then also to write it in word form. Let's start there. Let's write this fraction in word form together. There are 4 rules for writing a fraction in word form. First, you say the whole number. Second, you say and when you see the decimal point. Third, you say the name of the number that comes to the right of the decimal point. And fourth, you say the name of the last place value. Let's use those rules. I put it on my place value chart so I could be super clear. 3 is in the ones place, so that's my whole number. So I'm going to start with my first rule. The name of my whole number is 3. Decimal point comes next, so I say and. 3 and. Then I say the name of the number that comes to the right of the decimal point. The name of this number is 67. There is a 0, but because the 0 comes before 67, it doesn't have an impact on how I say the name. So I have 3 and 67. The last rule is to say the name of the last place value. The 7 digit is the last digit. It's in the thousandths place. So the thousandths place is the last place value. So I say the thousandths. Okay, so it's 3 is my whole number and is my decimal. 67 is my number to the right of the decimal, thousandths. That's the name of my last place value. 3 and 67 thousandths. This is what it looks like in word form. And now that we've done that together, you should be able to do the fraction as a piece of cake. The next kind of problem that you'll see, those are called 1 and 2 down at the bottom, ask you to fill in the blank. You start with a number over here, a whole number, 5, and it asks you, what do I multiply it by to get 5/10? 5 times what would give me 5/10? I'm not going to solve these. The first row is about multiplying. The second row is exactly the same thing, except it says, how could you fill it in with dividing? So I'm not going to solve these, but I do want to give you a hint. My first hint is put the two numbers that you're comparing on the place value chart. So in this case, I had 5 and 5/10. That's my first example. So I put the number 5. It's 5 wholes, so it goes in the ones place. And I put 5/10. It's in the tenths place. I put those two numbers on my place value chart because I'm trying to figure out what do I multiply 5 by to get 5/10. I can see that I'm going to move it over to the right one time. When you're moving to the right, numbers get smaller. When you're moving to the left, numbers get bigger. When we're talking about place value, we're always talking about tens. When moving to the left, we multiply by 10. Moving to the right, we divide by 10. Another way to divide by 10 is to multiply by 1/10. So when I move from 5 to 5/10, I'm moving over one place value. That's the same as dividing by 10 or multiplying by 1/10. When we move to the right, the numbers get smaller. We either divide by 10 or we multiply by 1/10 for each place value that we move. When we move to the left, numbers get bigger. We multiply by 10 for every place value. This process, by writing it on the place value chart and writing down every time you multiply or divide by 10 or 1/10, that will give you your answer. That takes care of the front. Then we move on to the back. Number 4 and then the one after. So number 4 has 2 questions, has a multiple choice question up at the top, and it has an open response question. I'm going to talk about this open response question because it's very similar to the multiple choice. It says, write a number that has a 2 that is 1/1000th the value of the 2 in the number 254. Okay. I'm not going to solve this one, but I'm going to solve a similar one. I'm going to use the number 317, and I'm going to come up with a number that has a 1, a digit that is a value of 1, a 1 that has a value 1/1000th of the original number. Original number is 317. I'm going to come up with a number that has a 1 in it, like this 1, that is 1/1000th of this original 1. Okay, the first thing I always do is put it on my place value chart. This place value chart goes from the hundreds place, which is greater than 1, greater than a whole, hundreds, just normal everyday old 100. I have $100, hundreds, tens, ones, decimal point, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. My place value chart that I'm going to use for this activity. I put my original number on the place value chart, 317. And I underlined the digit that I'm working with. I need to find a number, create a number that has a 1 that is 1/1000th the value of this 1. Now 1/1000th is definitely getting smaller. That means I'm moving to the right. I'm not multiplying by 1,000. I'm coming up with a number that is 1/1000th. That's much smaller. Moving to the right. How many times am I moving to the right? Well, in 1,000, there are 3 powers of 10. It's like saying 1/10 times 1/10 times 1/10 is the same as 1/1000th. So I need to move it over 3 times. The other way to think about it is because there are 3 powers of 10 in 1,000, it's like dividing by 10 3 times. So I have to swoop over. 1 time is like dividing by 10 or multiplying by 1/10. Another time, and a third time. By the time I've done, I've landed in the hundredths place. I put a circle here. That's where my 1 digit needs to go in order to answer the question correctly. Now I can use whatever numbers I want to fill in around it. So I brought the 1 down. I have to keep that as is, but I just used 5 for everything else. The number I end up with is 555 and 515 thousandths. The 1 is 1/1000th the value of the 1 in my original number. Now the last question asks you to describe 2 methods that you could use to compare the value of the 3's in 3,234. Let's talk through it using this example we just did. There are 2 ways that we could compare the value of this 1 and this 1. First, I could start here. I could say the 1 in the tens place is 1,000 times greater than the 1 in the hundredths place. 1,000 times greater because it is 3 powers of 10 over to the left. Compare it to here, it's over to the left. 3 times, 1, 2, 3. The 1 in the tens place is 1,000 times greater than the 1 in the hundredths place. Let's do it the opposite way. The 1 in the hundredths place is 1/1000th of the 1 in the tens place, or it is Yeah, that's it. It is 1/1000th the value of the 1 in the tens place. And we know that because that answered our question. Our question was come up with a digit, come up with a number where the 1 is 1/1000th the value. So here we can say this 1 in the hundredths place is 1/1000th the value of this 1 in the tens place. And so the opposite is also true. This 1 in the tens place is 1,000 times the value of the 1 in the hundredths place. That last part is pretty complicated, so I definitely recommend going back to your packet and using the sentence starters that we came up with together in class. If you have questions, definitely give us a call. Good luck. See you tomorrow.